Hello everybody, MLD here, and this video is my second response to my old rival, the 7th level. Now, it has been some time since he made a video, and I haven't responded yet. And to be perfectly honest, god damn, it's 22 minutes long. I looked at it, I'm like, I made like a 5-minute video. You give me 22 minutes. Like, well, what am I going to do with that? So, no, you're right. I mean, he talked to me a bit. He's like saying, where's the video? I'm like, okay, I got to buckle down. Let's just get right into it. Let's just power through it. So usually I like to do things off the cuff. I like to do things just, off the top of my head. This is what you reduced me to, 7th. I have to make point form notes. Like, but it's okay though. It's okay. Well, we'll get through this all. I think I covered most of your points. And before I get started, I just want to say I loved that intro. That was perfect. That was perfect. So let's get right into it here. So you said that, in the beginning actually, it was all about you justifying Game Pass. How you use it as just a means to play bad games, just to back up what you're saying. All I'm going to say that is, I don't like PlayStation. I don't like PlayStation fanboys. You don't see me owning a PS5. Never owned a PlayStation console in my life. Proud to say that. I'm not going to do in the future because that's not very credible on my part. If I'm always bashing Sony and the fanboys that champion the brand. Now you, however, I know you're more of a you play all games, you play all consoles. So I'm not referring to you when I say that. But I was just making a point with that. Moving on here. So you said that you mentioned it'll just be Game Pass in the future. I know you like to predict the future, and for the most part, it's going where you say it's going, but I just don't see it, only because it's an option. I feel like hardware is not going anywhere. So as long as Nintendo's doing hardware, Sony's doing hardware, Xbox has to keep doing hardware. They just have to. Otherwise, they'll just alienate their audience like they did in 2013. Now they learned that you need to do options. Like, you just have to. Otherwise, you'll alienate a core audience, especially the traditionalists that like consoles. And Microsoft, they even said that they're designing the next generation of consoles, whether it be the mid-gen refresh or even next-gen. Consoles are not going anywhere, especially for that juicy third-party revenue from games. Game Pass doesn't really give you that. But third-party purchases on a console, that's a steady stream of revenue that Xbox isn't going to give up anytime soon. Then you mentioned DRM. Well, one way or another, I'm just going to say this, one way or another, even if internet connections are spotty in certain parts of the world, chances are, if you have a gaming console, you have access to the internet in some regard. You have the option to at least sign in to play a game, and then you just go from there. I'm not saying you need, not everyone's playing like this Twitch-like multiplayer shooters where you need the fastest connection. We're talking about just a bare minimum online connection just to sign into a game. And in that regard, I think most people have at least the basics down with their internet provider. So, there's that. Then you mentioned BC, the backwards compatibility, and I think in the end, you're right in a sense. Other consoles, older consoles, they did it right. They did non-emulation BC, and ideally that would be good. But end of the day, look at what Nintendo, their BC solutions, how there's a lot to be desired there, and look at Sony and look at Microsoft. End of the day, Xbox is doing it the best. Like, they got the most progress out of it. Like on Game Pass, you got Blinks the Time Sweeper and Crimson Skies. These are original Xbox games being added onto Game Pass. They're going to be discovered and or even replayed for many people for the first time in many cases. That is BC. That is preserving the games in a way that you haven't maybe considered. Or it's just a new way. But in the end, the games are being preserved. Xbox is leading the charge in that regard. And with Game Pass, again, hopefully you buy certain you wait for certain games, like certain day one games that are upcoming, and you wanna do them, you wanna play them. Maybe hold off on those, and then you could actually get some value out of your Game Pass service. Just food for thought. And let's see, trying to take over the industry of Game Pass. I see this as Xbox adapting to the markets. They see themselves, if you can't compete with PlayStation in a traditional sense, this is them flipping the board game and changing the rules and making Sony play by their rules. This is why Sony is now releasing games on PC. They're doing that because Xbox has been doing it for years. They see the value in that. Now Sony is following Xbox's lead. So I just see Game Pass as a market disruptor. It's a way for Xbox to level the playing field and get a more equilibrium competition. So, and that I think we can all get on board with. The 360, Wii, PS3 gen, that gen was my favorite in one part because everyone was successful in their own way. No one succeeded at someone else's expense. Basically now, as good as Game Pass is going to be successful, as much as that will be, it's not going to impact PS5 success, as the consoles are still selling very nicely. So that is what I'm talking about. At least Xbox, they're adapting, they're changing the game, but at least this way, everybody is thriving. So that's something to consider as well. You mentioned modding, and I think this is just more of a console issue because it's just not as open-ended as PC. But that said, Xbox, they do game mods better. I mean, they're a little more open. I mean, especially with Bethesda games, and they're more restricted on the PlayStation side of things. So then you got that. Trying to your xCloud comment. How you this whole rant on xCloud in the hospital for any particular circumstances. It depends on the game. Like, I'm not gonna play xCloud in a place with spotty Wi-Fi to play Halo 5 or any kind of shooter for that matter. I'm gonna play a game like Minecraft Dungeons, like some kind of slow-paced, maybe like an indie game, something like that. That's the kind of game you play. And you see you go home and the license expired. I'm not going to play games that are going to leave the service within a few days. I'm going to play a game that I know will be there for some time. I mean, it's just called planning. You got to plan these things ahead. So then you talk about the set-top box, a future, how, in the end, I think it's going to happen. Set-top boxes, they will be more prevalent. I do agree with that, as internet connections get better and all that stuff. But as long as Sony is traditional, again, as long as Nintendo is traditional, Xbox will have to be traditional in order to stay in line with the other two. Otherwise, they'll get outrage. Just like in 2013, they were doing like all these policies that PS4 wasn't doing, and there was outrage. Same with this. They will not do this thing exclusively. They will do options like they are doing right now. So as long as their main competitor is doing traditional stuff, so will Xbox. Then you talked about the price hike with Game Pass. I think it's going to happen. When? I don't know. I think it might be due to inflation. That's the most likely scenario. I mean, prices go up over years, no matter how much you try to keep prices lower. You just can't avoid that. But I don't think it'll be a drastic price hike like how they tried to double the price of Xbox Live Gold. That was a bad move. And people called Microsoft out on that. And Microsoft rolled back that price hike within a day, like 12 hours of announcing that. So I think they're going to play this pretty slick going forward. If Game Pass prices do raise, it'll be small and incremental and in line with inflation. So long as they message that properly in the marketing, I think people will give them the benefit of the doubt. Or, of course, they can always up the value aspect to justify the slight price hikes. But I'm not seeing any massive ones like Xbox Live Gold. Then you talked about the cross-gen argument. It's actually very simple. You see, the Xbox cultivate a certain culture. They want to put games everywhere. They want to give you options. They want you to take your game from console to PC to mobile, wherever you are. Sony, they are cultivating a different culture, where PlayStation is the one and only place to play your games. So when Sony brings their games to PC, yes, that is bad, because they are ruining their own culture that the fanboys swear by. No longer is PlayStation the only one place to play the games. Now they're just essentially copying Xbox's culture, which they trailblazed as early as 2015. And at least Xbox was transparent from the start. When they said Halo Infinite is cross-gen, they meant that. They said that right away. Sony, when they said that, when they announced certain games, they neglected to say that they were cross-gen until months down the road. That is deliberate misinformation that they gave to their fans. And I want you to know the difference with that. There's a big difference with that. So there's that. Now, you mentioned the thing about $70 per game. You're right. At this point in my life, $70 for one game, it's not a big deal. Like, it's not. But it's more the principle. As a platform holder, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, they are all held to a certain higher standard than third parties, in my opinion. So if Xbox still charges $60 for Flight Simulator or Halo Infinite, whereas Sony charges $70 for Returnal, that says something. Based on principle alone. Personal preference, again, $10 doesn't really mean much, but it's on the principle of the matter. So then you said different subservices emerging, like with Netflix and Disney Plus, all that stuff. I mean, we're seeing that right now with EA Play. Ubisoft is doing their thing. Probably other ones will follow suit. But that's where Xbox comes in with their massive first-party expansion. That's the point. They are already anticipating this. They know that other companies will soon break away. How EA Play might not be bundled with Xbox Game Pass forever. So they're already planning for that. They acquired Bethesda, all these other studios, and they're going to acquire more. That's the point. They want to be self-sufficient for when that time comes. And at least I like the studios that they are all acquiring. I cannot wait for Hellblade 2. I want to play Outer Worlds 2, Avowed, Elder Scrolls 6, the next Fallout. They're game studios that I'm personally invested in, and IPs that stand the test of time. So I think you're right, but I think also Xbox knows that you're right, and they're anticipating that and preparing for a future where there will be a lot of Game Pass clones out there trying to compete for the same markets. Now, let's see. But unlike Netflix, like you were saying, how Netflix had to lose a lot of money to fund their own exclusive content, Xbox is again doing this as an option. Again, people are still buying Xbox games as a whole. Then you got Windows Store. I know Windows Store isn't the most popular, but then here's my point. Steam. Xbox games, first-party games, are selling amazingly well on Steam. And it's that contributes to the overall healthiness of the Xbox brand. It all works together. It's all a family. Game Pass is not alone. Any sales that are lost with people playing on Game Pass are gained back with game purchases on Xbox consoles, Windows Store, and especially Steam. That is a major, major difference between Game Pass's approach and Netflix, which only does streaming. So in the end, I think you're a purist, Seventh. I can't fault you for that. You are what you are. And hey, there was a time where I was just like that, where I loved seeing the instruction manuals for new games. That said, it's all about options. I'm looking forward to buying Halo Infinite physical copy because I collect certain IPs for myself. Halo's the main one. My wife collects Assassin's Creed physical copies. I will be at a midnight launch for Halo Infinite. See, I can be a Game Pass Ultimate member and also partake in the very same things you like to participate in. And although I did say it's all about my convenience, bang for buck, I've been playing more Xbox games now in the last few years than I ever have in my life. And for the most part, I have Game Pass to thank for that. So the market is changing. I know it is. I agree with you. The market is going in a certain way in a few years. But I have an open mind. I'm adapting to it. And if I'm playing more games than I ever have for less money, I'm down. I have an open mind. So I hope that covered most of the points. I look forward to your response. See you guys.